Duh. I have a local version of it, so I just started my server. And okay, you said you started your server. Oh. Let me just check something. Yeah, see, I hung on this. I probably used the wrong URL. Where's my server? Okay, the server looks happy. We'll try it again. I may not have used the right URL. I have so many in here. Okay, this is my machine name. Oh, you know what? No, I should do this one, the local machine, because I don't think my DNS is working. There. So I'm calling Domino on the same machine. Oh, it took a second and a half. I can go to Australia in less than that. Well, that was the first call. There's actually some caching going on. So now take the network out of the equation. What is Domino doing? My average response time is about 1/10 of a second. So it should answer some performance issues, like, well, how many hits can the Domino? The gating factor is the network. That's the biggest bottleneck of your network. So that's just kind of fun. Okay, we're going to take a look at the code on the server side. And to do that, now that I have the server running, it's an agent. And agents now under something called shared code. I was going to yell about my ID. I use a different ID for that. Oh no, it's doing the okay, I have a local copy of it too. It right now is trying to find my machine name again. I don't have a DNS. I have a fixed IP address. So it's going to time out. We're going to look at the local copy of it. Just for these reasons. Thanks. Yeah, that worked like a house fire. Okay, and here we want the agent name, shared code. The right one, yes, agents. Now here's the agent that returns WSDL file. Remember I said I used WSDL. Here's one, I rewrote the whole thing using a SAX parser to handle XML. Well, we might look at that, but let's look at this one. This is the basic one that everyone uses. So, how do I do this magic with Domino as a web service? Pretty simple, actually. String is there, and let's look at the code. And laughing is okay. So very simple. I have a session and a document, and then, does anyone know what this is? The document context is a document that gets created whenever an agent is run. It's this workspace for the agent to go do things. Well, guess what? There's an item automatically on that document called request content. What gets put in there? Well, anything that comes in is an HTTP post. That was my light. The light came on at work. I was like, really? I can get to the SOAP message? So now I have the SOAP message. So I've been called by URL, and I have a SOAP message. I'm halfway there. And this is very simply telling Domino, when you write back to this client, do not convert to HTML. Leave it as the way it is. So if you do that print statement first, Domino from now on will not convert it back for this session. Now here's the part where you get the laugh. In string is how I'm getting out the pieces of the XML document. Remember, this is R5. I rewrote this in 6 using our new SAX parser. I bet we have XML classes in 6, but you can't use them in 5. You can use somebody else's tools, but I wanted to say 100% Domino. So this works just fine. You saw it works everywhere, but I parsed through, I look for the SOAP envelope body, I look for the end, I do a bunch of things, and I end up with the namespace, which is just like additional name to the method name. I use that for the library name in LotusScript. And then the method name is going to be the name of the function in the library, and then pass over the parameters. And here's that trick we saw before. Call string equals bar use library, because I don't know the library name yet, it's going to be passed in. response equals my function plus the arguments. So I'm saying here, load the library, whatever the one they call it in the namespace, and call the function, whatever he called it, with whatever parameter he called it. I build that code and I execute it here. So it's compiled and run. So that's all that is. And then here's very complicated. My temp string is nothing more than the XML response with this variable set. This is the sleaziest piece of code. Well, probably not the sleaziest I've ever written, but this is like, you know, very low level, but I'm doing the actual creating of the text. In release 7, we're looking to make this stuff happen to you automatically and hidden from you. But the beauty is this is in 5. We wrote 5, there was no such thing as a web service. The technology didn't exist. But guess what? We already had something similar to serverless. We already could read an HTTP post. We can already write back to a client. So we have the pieces there already to do this. And people have been using this technology for a while. They just didn't know what to call it. Now there's a standard, so we just put a standard interface on existing functionality. So that's my whopping, you know, could I do the same thing and instead of expose the function called get quote, could it be get status at workflow? And so I went from 35 lines of code to 56. Plus I have all these events I have to code. So it turns out the code like explodes. I have like 150 lines. Big deal, right? Not that much. But the point is to do that is a lot more work. And actually our SAX parser is not namespace aware. Yes. So I actually had to still do an in string to get the namespace out of part of it. But the point is, you can add a web service to your R5 Domino application today. Could I write a web service that does something else, not Domino related? Absolutely. Anything I can call a load script, I can do. Could I, have it return the system time? Could I have it tell me how big is my hard drive on that server? Could I have it do anything I can do in load script? I can make a web service. It doesn't have to be documents and Domino. So that's something else to think about. Okay, again, we just walked through the code here. This is where I actually build the code.